Okay, hey, we're live. Okay, and 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to the SideQuest, your wonderful twice a month-ish podcast about video games and video game culture and the people that live within it. Hosted by SideQuesting.com, hence the name The SideQuest. I am Dolly Domofsky, joining you on this wonderful, mild, still midwinter March day. Joining me as well is Robin Miller.
Hello, friends.
That's Robin with a Y and not an I. Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
And Tom Johnson.
Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Tom
I'm
is
very tired.
just woke up apparently.
I'm a sleepy boy
Needs a
today.
blanket. Yeah. Sam couldn't make it. Something came up. He's got to work or something. Something stupid. I don't know. But he will be with us next time. Anyway, so we have an awesome, fun show today with a fun topic at the second half. But as usual, we're going to start off with what we've been playing, and I'm gonna let you both jump right into it because you both have been playing this game, and it's all the rage. It seems like it's all over my Twitter feed and my social media feeds. Who wants to jump in first? Robin, why don't you tell us what this game is?
Okay. I will do my best. Stardew Valley. And it is published by Chucklefish, who are the folks who brought us Terraria. So if you can imagine a Harvest Moon style game with all the whimsy of Terraria, you have Stardew Valley there, and even that doesn't really do it justice. I'm still in the first year myself, but this game is utterly addicting. You play as a character, customized character, and the basic conceit is you're tired of your cubicle job, so your grandfather left you a farmhouse in a place called Stardew Valley, and you set off there to start a new life and start a farm. But there's so much you can do. It's done on a day-by-day sort of gameplay style, so you have so many hours in the day to complete the tasks, and then you go to bed and then start again. Thankfully, it's not real time, otherwise it would consume all of my life.
I liked your tweet the other day, which was, I think it was something to the extent of, I figured I'd play one more round or whatever of Stardew Valley.
Yeah, famous last words. Never plan to do one more day. If you realize that you need to stop and you're just waking up for the day in game, stop then and there. Don't do one more day because that'll turn into a whole season.
7 hours later.
Yeah. So in addition to just farming, there's so much else you can do. There's almost a dungeon crawling aspect where you can go into the mine shafts and clear out levels, defeating enemies along the way and gathering ore, which is a useful resource for building more things on your farm. You can become part of the community, so you can essentially rebuild aspects that have been broken down around the town, become friends with community members, and even romance someone and marry them. So as I'm playing, I'm still discovering more and more things to do. There's so much to explore, so much content there. And your farm can become ridiculous, too. You can do produce, you can do artisan items, like wine and mayonnaise and pickled things, and you can also have animals. So it's lots of fun, and it's very uplifting and positive, though the irony of a game that is telling us to reconnect with nature is not lost on me at all.
Fantastic. Well, cool. I mean, I've heard everybody talking about it, and I've heard, comparisons like Terraria, Harvest Moon, even like Farmville in a weird way.
Kind of Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, okay. So,
Yeah.
Tom, you've been playing it as well?
Yeah, it's become a real problem. Like a real problem.
So this is Steam right now, right?
And good old games, yeah. You can get them on either or.
So it's PC based, and I think the developers came out today and said they'd love to have it on consoles.
Yeah, I bet.
I think it'd be great on consoles, and even like, excuse me, we're all yawning. Even like like a handheld or God forbid it hits iPhone because then it'll be ginormous.
I was about to say, my good friend pointed out that it would be well suited for mobile platforms like iOS and Android, but if it hits those,
oh gosh, it's over.
That'd be the end of it for me. That would be
it. Yeah, my biggest issue is that I have to play it on a computer because I want to play it everywhere, all the time, always.
Man, I can imagine. I mean, well, hey, if the NX rumors of a handheld as powerful as the Xbox One you could plug into your TV are true, then we may have our Stardew Valley box right there. Yeah, I'm looking. I've been interested in this game. Just I didn't know anything about it. I heard the name like a couple months ago pop up somewhere, and then it went dormant for a while. I think the game released like last week sometime. Was that
like last week of February? I think.
Okay, so kind of like 2-3 weeks ago. So and yeah, I've ever since then like it's slowly been growing in popularity, and I think they said they've sold like over 250,000 copies already, maybe 300,000 probably at least at this point. So yeah, it's great that a little game like that could get people to, like you said, Robin, to reconnect with nature in kind of a weird way, and just live that farm lifestyle in kind of a fun way. So I'm excited to check it out. I will definitely check it out. What else have you been playing, Robin?
Lots of star-based things, apparently. I tried out Starwall.
Okay. Starwall is okay. Tell me your thoughts on Starwall.
I love it.
Okay,
First of all, yeah. In order to talk about it, I almost need to throw a party and have a bunch of people over and just have my Xbox One set up with the controllers out for people to pick up and play, because it's definitely a very good party game.
Yes.
The premise is that you are these customizable narwhals, or however you want to say it, and you are trying to fight one another or participate in challenges. And in the combat mode, the goal is to stab the other narwhal in the heart, and do it repeatedly.
So vicious.
Whoever is the last standing sea denizen is the victor. So it's like Drunken Nidhogg in outer space with an awesome 80s retro aesthetic and narwhals. So it's lots of fun.
Space narwhals.
Yeah, space narwhals at that. So it's a fun game, and I feel like my brief venture into it as a sad solo player doesn't really do it justice, because it's very much a game that you need to play with friends and can have fun, competitive, action-packed battles with. So I really like it.
I played on the Wii U. I think it came out back in September or something like that for the Wii U. And it was exactly that. It was a party. I had a few friends over. And you're right, it's like Drunken Nidhogg. I mean, we were taking a couple alcoholic beverages, adult beverages we'll call them, and we had a blast playing it. And it was, you probably killed like an hour of just giggling and playing Starwall. And it's a fun, neat little game. It was one of those in 2015 that kind of went under the radar for a lot of folks. Kind of like Runbow. Runbow was another really fun Wii game that was in that kind of party.
You're all about Runbow.
Oh, I still play it. My daughter still loves playing it every once in a while. So yeah, we'll play that. But there's these kind of this genre of indie games, which I think to me it's almost like I don't even call them indie games anymore. I don't think there's an indie genre, because it's just stuff that one person or 10 people make in a garage somewhere, and then something that 100 people make, or something that 1,000 people make. It's just they're all games now, I think. So it's more of like the platform you get them on. But yeah, Starwall's a lot of fun. If you're listening and you haven't played it, I say definitely.
Please go get it. I had so much fun with just the accessories you could stick on. Like mine is a pink unicorn killing machine. A unicorn is like a tutu or something. I don't even know. I was very happy with it though.
The visuals, the audio, the sound is great. The music's great. It's just a fun. neat, well-designed. Little. It's like something that would come out of like Adult Swim games or something, right?
It
Because
looks really cool.
It reminded me a little bit of Robot Unicorn Attack.
yes, yep.
It's just kind of the same sense of humor,
Mhm.
and it's so great.
And you can tell
I'm
the
sad
developers had a great time making it.
Yeah, a really good sense of humor on their part.
Cool. So anything else you've been playing?
That's about it for
Okay.
these past few weeks. Stardew Valley has consumed my soul. Or has
Anything with the
consumed my
word
soul.
star in it.
Yeah, anything with the word
Stardew or
star in it.
Starwall.
Yeah, I'm still working on the romance in that game, Stardew Valley.
I maxed it out today. It's
Who did you romance?
Abigail.
Abigail? Okay. I'm torn. I have hearts with a few people right now, and I'm trying to settle on which one I actually want to pursue. Seriously.
I min-maxed my villager affection. I'm like, yo, right, I'm gonna go for these 3 people. I'm gonna say fuck all these other dudes.
You know, it's great because, you know, on one hand you have people talking about like, I can't wait for Dark Souls 3 where I can just obliterate demons, and oh, did you guys see the new Gears of War 4 news and your Marcus Phoenix's son? I wonder if he kills aliens the same way. And meanwell, you got everybody everybody else is talking about like, I'm really getting these affection points. With,
I'm building a solid relationship with this small community.
Great, I love that. It's just awesome. You know, completely flip side of the.
And let me tell you about my cabbage crop. So many gold stars. So many gold stars.
You have a dog or a cat? What do you got?
I have a dog, and because I'm a clever person, I named it Cece, which is my dog's name. I said backwards. Are you a cat person, Tom?
Yeah, I'm a cat person. He just lays around on crops. That's all it does.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
My dog follows me around, wags its tail, and barks, and sometimes scares me half to death when he bursts out of grass. So.
I think I made the joke on Twitter when I think, Robin, you were talking about it, and Katie and a few other folks are popping up about it the whole week, and everybody's talking about crops and green thumb, and I'm like, God, this is like, I'm ready to make proposals because I got such a green thumb in real life. Like, all this stuff makes me super happy, and I'm like, I'm gonna start throwing wedding proposals at all these people that are talking about Stardew Valley and Anyways, very cool. I'm gonna hop into what I've been playing, and then we'll get a little bit more of what Tom's been playing.
Some of those hot games from 2009? Are we doing that?
Yeah, no, I went up to 2014 now. So my jog through my backlog, my 52 and 52. It's been 5 weeks. I've gone through 5 games. I just completed. Let me tell you about the 2 that I have completed. One, Captain Toad, which is it came out in 2014. Still such a charming, wonderful little video game. Great puzzles, really lively. And it was that spin-off of Super Mario 3D World. But yeah, Captain Toad is such a good game. Completed that single-player mode and a bunch of the extra bonus puzzles, and also completed Link's crossbow training for the Wii. That was also one of those games that were just kind of sitting there. That I think I had bought the shooting thing, whatever that was, the Wii Zapper. I don't know what that was.
Yeah,
for like
the Wii Zapper. It's
actually for like $4 at Walmart, and it had the game included in it. So I think Walmart was trying to clear out their stock. I thought, $4, I get a free game or get a game of the controller. Why not? That game's not very good. No, it's not. It's super short. Like, I think I completed the entire experience in a span of about 15 minutes. It's very easy. It's just you're pointing and shooting. That's it. Nothing else. So yeah, but Captain Toad was really good. So those are the 2 old games, and the new game that I've been playing is Fire Emblem Fates, and I started with the Birthright.
Oh, Birthright. Right.
Birthright, because it's more similar to Awakening.
The people in Conquest are kind of dicks.
The people in Conquest are kind of dicks. Have you been playing the game at all?
I've seen a bunch of it. I haven't dug into it yet.
So the way the game is set up, it's almost Pokemon-ish in that you have 2 sides, 2 families, essentially. You have the the one family in Birthright, which is more of the pacifist, defensive family, and then you have the family in Conquest, which is the darker, more aggressive, and yeah, kind of like Dick's family. But at the same time, you're kind of torn. You're this character that's kind of torn between the two families, and it's you can side with either family, and there's reasons why you would choose one over the other, and it makes complete sense as to why you would go with either the more aggressive one or the more pacifist one. But if you buy these games separately, if you buy them digitally, then you make that choice. You get the first like 5 chapters. You make that choice, and you're actually buying the rest of that game, I guess. But yeah, so Birthright is the one side, and Conquest is the other side. And then the new, I think today the DLC landed for the third kind of the completion of the story called Revelation.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I have like a cartridge with. I have like this weird pack-in with both of them.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, did you buy the special edition?
Yeah, I got the special edition, so I guess it's all in the same thing.
Well, yeah, so I enjoy it. Birthright, like I said, it's much more like Fire Emblem Awakening, but just lovely art, lovely characters, great characters, I should say, really kind of endearing, great little subplots and storyline. And the best part about Fire Emblem was you can just kind of sit and grind out battles. As often as you want. I'll find myself just grinding for no reason and mixing and matching different teams and characters and trying to find the strengths and the pairings that I like. And then I'll go into a story mode chapter. I've been doing like one story chapter a day. I think there's like 30 chapters or 25 chapters or something.
Oh, geez.
So I've just been doing one a day. And really all the chapter is like a battle. It's one battle. So chapters is a way to say it, but yeah, you could probably complete this entire game in a day if you just sat and played through the whole thing. But I'm trying to do one chapter a day and grinding in between. So if you've ever played a Fire Emblem game, that's what Birthright is kind of like. Conquest is a little bit more. It's much more difficult because some of the death mechanics that they're using and the way the game plays and unfolds is different. So they are kind of like 2 separate games, and I think initially people were wondering why you would have this one game split into 2, but they're different enough and they play different enough that I think it's worthwhile. You get a different experience. You're on the more aggressive side and then on the more defensive side. So that's how you play the game. They also have this neat Street Pass feature where with Awakening, if you were Street Passing, you would just fight battles on one of the game's battlefields against another team. So that was kind of fun, or you can acquire those characters to be on your team. That was Awakening. But what they've done now with Birthright and Conquest is that you build up almost like a castle town. You can put up defenses. So it's like almost like tower defense built in. So let's say you can have people. You battle them on people you Street Pass in your castle, and they have to run through your defenses. And if you win, you get points. If you beat them in their castle, you get even more points because you have to go through their defenses. So it's kind of cool in a way to set up your home base and set up the defenses and still have those Street Pass type battles. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love it. And I think the NPDs came out today, and it's the fastest selling Fire Emblem game in the U.S. ever, like tripled the amount that the previous game did. So the Awakenings did. So it's probably somewhere around like 600,000 copies have sold, which is huge for Fire Emblem for a game that never had taken hold in the U.S. So pretty cool stuff.
I feel like they put a ton of marketing behind that game.
See, I was surprised. I think they might have done it online, but definitely not like. And I don't know. To tell you the truth, I saw very little, to tell you the truth, marketing for the game.
Do they have feet now?
They have feet now. Yes, great point.
Yay!
Yes, the character designs are a lot better. I think they're essentially pushing the 3DS to its max because the 3DS isn't very powerful. But yeah, they have feet now, which is great. Costume design is awesome. Weapon design is great. Character design is cool. And one of the great commendable things is how the developers, I think it's Intelligent Systems, are able to make these characters look completely unique and amazing, and yet fit within the Fire Emblem the universe, their whole theme and their style. So, and just at the Awakening, you can pair up with someone. You can build up relationship points. You can have kids, and those kids can pair up. So it adds a good level of depth to relationship building. So yeah, I may not have a farm, but I have a castle, and I'm also having relationships. And I'm gonna marry someone. Okay, so there. And there is light farming. There's some very light farming in the game. Very light, if you even want to call it farming. You're more like finding stuff. But good times. Yeah, I love it. It's a blast.
I'll
It's a
have
game
to
I'll be
check
playing
that
for a
out.
long time. I think I still play. I played Awakening. Let's see, when they came out in like 2012, somewhere around there, and I played it up until like at least a few times a month up through to November, December of this past year. So I'll be doing the same with Fates. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Should I play Awakening first? I've had it sitting on my shelf for like 2.5
It's great.
years.
Play it because it's a different game than Fates. So yeah, I would play it. It's a smaller game because it's not split into three giant games. But yeah, play it definitely.
Huh. Yeah,
Totally.
Will it feed or give you background information that you need to play?
Nope, the games are not connected whatsoever.
Okay.
It's just style-wise and battle-wise they're connected. That's about it, though. But it's great. It's the granddaddy of like, tactical games, I guess, or strategy RPGs.
No question about it.
It's cool. So it's such a good game, and actually surprisingly good 3D effects. I always like that 2D layered effect that the 3DS can pull off. So it's kind of cool, kind of nice. So that's what I've been playing.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how anime is it?
What's interesting? It's not like what do you mean by anime?
Like how, just in style, in tone,
It's like a serious Miyazaki movie. So it's kind of like let me see, it's the
like a Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind.
Kind of like that, or the what was the film? The girl, the wolf.
Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke. It's kind of that level of anime, I guess you could say.
All right.
My interest is piqued.
Yes. No, I love this. It's a great series, and Awakening is pretty difficult to find right now because they stopped producing it years ago.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, and I haven't seen it in stores anywhere in like 2+ years. So.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, maybe eBaying that one for quite a bit.
It's on. Can you buy it digitally?
No idea.
I think you can. Probably.
If you can, that's probably the way to get it. Yeah. What have you been playing, Tom?
You want to talk about Hitman, or you want to talk about The Division?
Let's a little bit of the Division and then more Hitman. I think we talked a little bit about the Division beta last week.
Joe, did you play Destiny?
Yeah.
This is pretty much that.
It's modern times Destiny.
Yeah.
Lots of opening and closing doors.
Oh man, I had to. The game starts in Brooklyn, and it has to load in Manhattan, and Manhattan wasn't loaded. It just had a big thing, so I was just running around Brooklyn closing doors for like 20 minutes to kill time. But like if everything I said about the beta pretty much carries over. Like I don't have a lot more new insight on what that game is after that. Like it's just a loot-based third-person shooter.
Well, Ubisoft came out and said that it's the biggest launch they've ever had.
I'm not surprised. They hyped the hell out of it, and it's fun. It's good. I'm just like not sure how long it's gonna keep me on it.
That's a great point. Destiny has that whole kind of fantasy sci-fi aspect. And Division is very modern day, so yeah, there may be.
Well, Destiny also has like play these raids once a week, do this stuff. Everything that the Division doesn't have, like the Dark Zone's there, you can get cool loot there, but I'm not gonna party up to play it once a week like I did with Destiny and raids.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool though. It looks good. It runs good on PS4. The PC runs slightly less good.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not optimized very well. It really chugged. But yeah, that's that. Hitman's cool though.
Okay, talk about Hitman.
I don't really have anything else to say about Division. I don't think you had questions about that game.
Let's talk Hitman.
Yeah, all right. Hitman comes out tomorrow. It is $15. which I think is a good price for what they're putting in it.
It's the first chapter, but there's a lot of like open worldiness, right?
The sandbox they put you in is huge.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It's really big. I think it's $60 for everything.
So the price of a full game. Yeah.
Yeah, or $10 next a thing, which that
Mhm.
might be the way to go. To be completely honest, it all equals out to $60 anyway. So for this one, tomorrow it comes out with the tutorial, which was the beta, and the Paris fashion show thing,
Just so
which
bizarre.
is crazy. Like it is the amount of options they give you are. Okay, so Absolution was the last one, right? I think that was in like 2012, 2013. That wasn't very Hitman-y compared to like what these used to be. I know a lot of people were way into Hitman. I'm not one of them. Thought it was like not great. I really liked it, and they seem to have married those two things. There's a lot more like if you ever played Blood Money, it's a lot like that. It has that open-ended structure. It has a thing. They point out pretty clearly what you can do, which I don't like, but you can turn all of that stuff off, which is what I did. So you're up to like eavesdropping on people and figuring out how to tackle these things. Like the way I did it was I eavesdropped on these people, found the male model that was supposed to be doing the fashion show, killed that dude, took his stuff, walked the show as him, went to a meeting, and then dropped my one target off a balcony onto the other and escaped in a helicopter. And it's real stupid.
I mean, I've been told that there's like 32 different ways, at least, to assassinate people.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you also just described the plot of Zoolander slightly.
That's great.
But no, it's like I'm really excited to check out like what they come up with next, because if they're bringing out like if every expansion is gonna be as big as this, if not bigger, then I'm on board, because it's really cool and it's just enough for me not to get bored with it. Yeah, because like that type of thing, like I would get like working the same map over and over, I'd get pretty bored if I had to do that for like 15, 20 hours.
Yeah.
But for like 2 to 4 hours, like I'm totally fine with that.
That's cool. How often are they going to be releasing the...
I think it's monthly.
Okay, cool. They said the full retail game will be next January?
Yeah, which is after everything comes out, I think.
Okay. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I'm interested, and I've heard it's got a little bit of that kind of campiness that Hitman used to be really known for.
It's real goofy at times, which I really appreciate.
That's good. That's interesting. The journey that this game has gone on, from being a full game initially to that weird beta thing that they were initially planning on doing, to just finally deciding, let's just do it episodic. That might work the best.
Yeah, they changed that really late in the game, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Because even up until like November, it was supposed to be this weird beta thing, and it wasn't until December that they decided it was going to be episodic, and ended up pushing it back to now, to the beginning of March.
I think it was like right after PlayStation Experience.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Because they showed that trailer for like a full game at PlayStation Experience.
Yeah, definitely. Crazy. Yeah, it's one. A lot of people are talking about that one too. Now I think it's surprising folks at how good it actually is, or fun, I should say, at least. So
I like it. They can still totally, shit the bed coming up.
Yeah, that's true. You're only the first episode in.
Yeah,
I'm getting old.
It seems really promising so far.
Cool. Well, let's get into the second half of the show and talk a little bit about our the big topic this week, which is the shifting landscape, or the shifting concept of E3 and gaming conferences. The big news that's come out over the last like 2 or 3 weeks right now, especially I think it actually started at the end of January. So at the end of January, EA said that they're not going to have a booth at E3. Instead, they're going to be holding an off-site event at the Nokia Theater or something like that. Their own kind of 1 or 2 day conference or event where they're bringing fans in to play a lot of the stuff for EA. And they're going to have a press conference that Sunday morning or that Sunday afternoon. And then Activision is also out of... What was that?
I said, "Oh, great!
Yeah.
Another Sunday
Activision
press conference."
is also going to be out of E3. Tom, you reported this earlier or last week that they've pulled out. They're not going to have a booth. They'll have a presence, right? But they're not going to have a booth.
Again.
Yeah. So they've done this before. Actually, my first 1 or 2 E3s, Activision wasn't there. They didn't have a booth. They just had a meeting room or a couple of meeting rooms, and they were presenting at everybody else's booth. So it's not uncommon.
Do you remember when they moved everything to Santa Monica and tried to make it smaller?
Oh God, yeah, that was horrible.
That's when they backed out the first time, which is why they have like such a big, ugly, terrible spot in the very back of the floor.
Yep.
I think that was back in 2008, right?
I think it was 08. Yeah, it was like 07 and 08. They were off in Santa Monica in the hotel thing. And then just at the end of last week, both Disney and Wargaming have said they weren't going to be having games as well.
Which for those, it makes sense to me because like it doesn't. Wargaming never made sense to be at E3.
But they were huge. They were a very huge booth.
They were,
so
but
let's dive into. Okay, so now I've listed who we know is not going to be at E3 or having a booth at E3. We do know so far that Bethesda, Ubisoft, Square, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, they're still going to have their big booths as well as a lot of other third-party developers. I don't even know if Konami will be there. Why would they be there? But
I know. Do you remember 2 years ago they had a booth that was literally just showing a Metal Gear Solid 5 trailer?
That's right. That's true.
Yeah. Trailers.
Yeah, maybe this is the David Hayter. David Hayter just recorded something Metal Gear Solid-ish. So let's get into the topic of conversation right now, or the topic of the day, and that's the E3 is changing. There were a lot of people saying that's it. E3's dead. It's over. Done with. I mean, is that the case? Is E3 dead, or is maybe E3 as we know it dead, or is this just a temporary bump in the road? What do you guys think? How do you feel?
I was looking at like the attendance records when I was right after I wrote that story. I was looking at all this stuff, and this seems like a fairly cyclical thing where people drop out and come back in and drop out and come back in as years go on. And some things, like I was saying, like some people that are backing out just have no reason to be there. Like Disney doesn't have any games coming out.
Right.
Like they straight up said they're not going to have a Disney Infinity 4.0, and that was literally their entire booth last year.
Yep.
It was this giant thing with Disney Infinity podiums and a thing to pretend you're a Star Wars guy.
And the year before, it was Disney Infinity and the Fantasia.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yeah. So I would agree. What was that?
Oh, no, you say your thing and then I'll go.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I agree with it. It's Disney is, if they're not going to have a new product. And I think that's the case with a couple of these, really, because there's no Destiny, right? We're not going to have Destiny 2. We'll have a Destiny expansion, but that may be announced at the Sony press conference. And there's you got Call of Duty and you have Skylanders, right? And Skylanders is starting to, its bubble is starting to burst. Call of Duty is going to be big, but you can't hang a entire show floor presence on those 3 things. I don't think, at least not anymore.
That was 3 out of the 4 things that their booth was last year, actually. I think.
Yeah. What was that? Was it the Guitar Hero?
Guitar Hero Live.
Yep. And they're not going to. They said their Guitar Hero is going to be just songs this year.
Like a platform, yeah.
Go ahead.
One other thing, the wargaming thing is always struck me as weird that they were there because they're it's mostly a place to get people hyped for a product, and they have like a free to play thing out now, so they're not really going to gain anything from that. Maybe I think something like PAX makes more sense, where they also have that huge awful booth.
Wargaming does seem to be more geared towards the gamer or the end user rather than the business aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what they said in their reason to pull out of E3. Yeah, they said that the environment wasn't for their intended user base since they've always been free to play.
I think that's smart. I think that's smart. And they don't have any new games coming out. They're moving like the. They had the World of Tanks. They have World of Warships, World of Airplanes, or whatever, World of Planes. And all those are out, and they're just doing these incremental tweaks to those, and they're pushing them potentially to consoles. And I think that's essentially all they're really pushing for this year. And none of those are being saleable or packaged in retail, so there isn't much for them to really to showcase. So I agree with both of you. it's not necessarily important for them to be there. I think I'm wondering now if the whole free to play, um, that genre of game is starting to disappear from, at least from the E3 show floor, because there's if with the retail folks there, the GameStops, the Walmarts, the Toys R Us's, and everybody in between. If there's a need for, they're focused on these packaged goods, and that's not what E3, or that's not what companies like Wargaming is delivering right now. So
I think it's fascinating that EA sort of is taking that consumer-based approach, because E3 is still very much a trade show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's still very much an industry only, except for those few thousand that manage to get their hands on a pass somehow. So it's very much a trade show. So it's interesting to me that EA is trying to shift out of that and essentially have their own thing across the street that's open to all consumers.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's a direction that a lot of, I guess, we have all sorts of things throughout the year, like PAX and everything else that's open to the public. So I wonder if that's a direction that E3 might head in the future.
Do you think, Tom?
I don't know. Like, I'm actually not sure.
Okay.
I'm just curious who's gonna take that space? Because if I remember correctly, isn't that right when you enter? It's that big.
One of the halls right when you enter. Yeah, I think Microsoft is right around the corner from EA. EA and Activision had some pretty big booths, right? And I think Capcom was maybe right near EA as well.
Activision's booth was actually not that important anymore, because it was this big. I went in there last year, and it's 2 theaters where you can watch a demo of one or the other, and just meeting rooms upstairs.
That's all they had the last couple of years, really, last few years, right?
So, I mean, really, like, what are they missing out on? Like, because they're still taking appointments and holding them in like meeting rooms.
Yep.
So like, you just can't.
And there
watch
are
the
meeting
trailer.
rooms off to the side in E3, and that's where we see a lot of. That's where they have the typical behind closed doors stuff, is in these little meeting rooms off to the side. Which I'm assuming that's where we're going to see a lot of these things. I almost wonder if, because the floor plan hasn't been released yet for E3, if this means that Sony typically has the biggest booth there, followed by Microsoft, and then followed by like EA and Nintendo and Square. But I wonder if this means that those 3 companies are going to be enlarging their booths, because we're seeing a lot of continued mergers and like acquisitions and stuff, and companies are starting to. You have Konami, which is shrinking. I mean, they're only going to have mobile games, if anything, there this year. They don't really have anything. I mean, perfect, whatever they'll have the soccer game.
Those machines.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering if this big shift. I mean, you're really only getting to a few really large companies anymore. When E3, like 5 years ago, when it was insane. There were tons of, because you had the mid-level developers, right? You had the THQs, you had a bunch of developers that size, and now you don't really have those anymore. You have either indies or you have the big giant AAAs, and the big giant AAAs don't need to necessarily compete with each other for floor space. So it may be.
And the indies are all in the Sony booth. So,
exactly, the indies are all in the Sony booth. You have a few in the Xbox booth, but yeah, they're all in the Sony booth. And so it's interesting. I think a lot of it may have to do with the fact that there just aren't as many big companies anymore. There's a lot more smaller indie level companies, and yeah, you're right. They're just being absorbed into the big OEM booths.
I can almost see Bethesda going for it.
Yeah,
they have their own pressers. I could see them cannibalizing some of that space.
Didn't last year, Tom? Didn't Bethesda just do like a theater or like a Not even, they weren't doing any appointments last year either.
They weren't doing any appointments. It was just they had like you walk in, and they have their big booth, and there's like a Mr. Handy off to the side, and like a bunch of Dishonored props, and they have this big screen hanging.
Still the same Dishonored props from years ago, probably the same ones.
These are Dishonored 2 ones.
Yeah, so they're probably still the same ones as Dishonored 1.
Some of them seemed that way.
Yeah.
But then they have like this big triangular screen on the ceiling that was just showing basically their press conference from the days before.
Yeah, they had
Oh, and Todd Howard was giving talks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did talks. In years past, Bethesda had a pretty big booth, and they were showing a lot of stuff. The first time I saw Prey 2 and Fallout New Vegas and that kind of stuff. So, and they had shrunk their booth down. So maybe this is the year that they start to open their booth back up. I mean, you also have companies like CD Projekt Red. I mean, even though they showed The Witcher 3 last year, they could potentially be showing their new game, Cyberpunk, which
I'm so excited.
Yeah, that game sounds wonderful. We don't know a ton about it, but it sounds great. But you have Deep Silver, you have Square Enix, which is going to be showing. They're going to have a big thing about Final Fantasy 7 and 15 and 14 and whatever else they're going to be showing. So I could see some other groups taking in that space, but I mean, do you think this is cyclical, or do you think this kind of issues ushers in a big change?
I think it's just like constantly in a state of flux, and I wouldn't be surprised to see someone buying up space to show more VR stuff.
Oh, that's a good point. You can see like
Oculus had a very small booth last year.
Steam or Vive, yeah.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Sony buy up a little more space because Activision said that their games will be shown at the Sony booth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where the Call of Duty demos are going to be. That's where the other stuff is going to be shown.
I think Skylanders will probably be at Nintendo. More than likely, that's where they've been pushing.
They had a large Skylanders presence last year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, with the car stuff, I saw some photographs. I didn't go last year, but I did go to PSX, and PSX was huge just from the Sony aspect. So I could see companies like Sony pushing because they had a whole area for VR. Over the years, it's been growing. When it was Morpheus, like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, and then last year when it was still Morpheus / PSVR, and then at PlayStation Experience, they had their whole back area of their upper level was just all PlayStation VR. So I can see that really growing this year.
Did they have like the weird 2-floor PlayStation VR structure, or did they have something different?
I think they had the 2-floor structure, yeah. But
they had an E3 off to the side, and completely separate from the PlayStation booth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That could happen. I mean, maybe that whole area just becomes a VR space. That could be kind of cool. For me, I think it's a little bit of. I don't want to say E3 is dying because it's not necessarily dying. There's still at least a couple good years left in it. I mean, I actually do think you need a company like Nintendo to showcase new hardware. We're in a really weird cycle right now where we've stopped showing hardware. There's no new game devices. Now it's just all about the games, and you don't necessarily need all the space to show all the games. I think the last generation, it was around this time that Sony was showing the Move controller, and Microsoft was starting to they were doing some crazy things with their Xbox redesigns and just starting to talk about Kinect like 3 years into their.
Hey, guess what? There might be another Xbox redesign this year.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing too.
Oh, I'm sure.
So they were doing the stuff with the tablets, the Surface stuff with the tablets like a few years ago. So there hasn't been a lot of that stuff happening just yet. VR for Sony will be it, and I have a feeling a large part of their press conference will be about it, and that's going to be the big fall thing for them. But I think you need that hardware stuff to really show strength or to show reason that you need to be at a conference like that. Because when you're just showing games, you can do that with just streaming with Twitch, and that was really successful. Like when Nintendo first did it like 3 years ago. Or 2-3 years ago, it was great. I mean, you essentially let people be at E3 without being at E3. Yeah. And all the other companies picked up on it over the last couple of years, and last year was really cool because I could just flip between channels and watch Square Enix, Capcom, Sony, Microsoft. I mean, I had the YouTube gaming app and the Twitch app open on on 2 separate screens at the office, and I would just switch the audio back and forth depending on what we're showing. And I thought, wow, it's kind of like being there in a weird way. Because there was no hardware being shown, it was just software. So, I think that the streaming thing is changing how we look at and view games, because that can be very much controlled by the publishers and developers of what people are seeing. But I also think the fan events, the stuff like PAX, the stuff like there's like Wizard World, the Mag Fest, and that kind of BlizzardCon. I think those are really starting to take hold. There's a lot of them now. There's like we can't send enough people to these events because there's just too many events. We get invited to everything, TwitchCon, MagFest, BlizzCon, but there's too many. So I think it's really spread out in where publishers and developers can showcase their stuff. And E3 just I don't want to say E3 isn't necessary anymore, but it's not necessary at the same scale because it's not the only thing anymore.
I think we've reached a point of saturation with all these events too.
Yeah.
So that's I think that can attribute some of the lull at E3 this year. My big concern is eventually that that bubble's going to burst and we're going to start seeing some of these conferences and events just dying out.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see which ones aren't sustainable in the long run and what they have to do to stay relevant.
I totally agree, and the PlayStation experience I felt was fantastic because it was dedicated to Sony, and people come in and have a great time playing all the games on Sony, try the PSVR, and really get engrossed in the PlayStation culture. And Nintendo used to do their Space World stuff in Japan, which was kind of the same thing. You had just Nintendo-based stuff there, developers. It was almost like a Macworld type of thing. Microsoft used to do their Xbox event for a few years. It was also kind of in that vein. And that fans come in. This was like the 2005 to 2009 or something. I could see more events like that take place where they're developer or publisher or console maker specific, and say, hey, here's the big Xbox event. It's a yearly Xbox conference. It's the Expo, and it's open to the fans, and we're gonna have publisher and developers show new stuff. They can get their one-on-one time with the press if they want to, but it's geared more towards the fans, and I think that could be a way to do it. However, you look at like what CES does, and CES is ginormous. For any of our listeners that have been to CES or anybody that's been there, it takes over all of Las Vegas, and you cannot physically see everything there. There's just too many things. I've tried. I've run from appointment to appointment to appointment, and they take over not just the main expo center, but it's in hotels all around the city. It's spread out so far apart because of these kind of different individual things. And so I almost wonder if that could be a way that E3 is going, because the gaming industry is huge, right? There's physical sales aren't what they used to be. Physical sales are dropping quite a bit, but digital sales seem to keep going up. So I could almost see like E3 proper is in the middle, and you have your heavy hitters, whatever they are, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, or whatever. And then you have all these little satellite mini conferences. You have like the indie game conference. You have the Steam conference. You have the PC. You have all these little individual mini conferences throughout the city at the same time, and that could really make E3. It could push it from one expo hall into like kind of taking over more of Los Angeles and really kind of drive in different crowds. And we can almost do like, here's the sports gaming technology conference, and you have like EA, and you have 2K Sports, and you have some cool basketball stuff, and you have athletes there, and then here's the I don't want to say the FPS conference, but you can see a lot of cool little mini conferences pop up. I mean, maybe that's one direction that E3 could go in.
That would be pretty awesome.
I mean, you could potentially focus on one area if you're a site specifically geared toward. You could have here's the iPad or the iOS and Android mini conference that's next to E3. I mean, that could be TwitchCon could be a part of E3, right? TwitchCon could be off to the center, a whole streaming conference for streaming tech and stuff, and I could be happy with that. It may make our jobs a little bit more difficult because we'll be spread out quite a bit, but I think you could actually grow E3 in that way.
Started Con.
Yeah, there you go.
In 2016.
Yep. SideQuest Con. We're gonna have it in E3. 2017 next year. I mean, what would you guys like to see out of E3? Do you like the older E3, or do you want to see it evolve?
I think I wouldn't mind seeing it evolve.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see, and this may be sacrilegious, but I'd like to see it have a little bit more of a consumer slant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because going to E3 and then going to PAX was such a different experience. One is a lot more laid back and stress-free than the other.
Oh, yeah.
On account of just, how big and grand everything is at E3, there's a lot more pressure both on the publishers and also on the press. So I think
Definitely.
opening it up and having a little bit more fan involvement and consumer involvement, I think would make it better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, I can see why there is a need for a more trade show oriented event. So I can see where some people might take issue with that.
Yeah, maybe there is just a retail. Maybe E3 does become more of the the retail aspect of it, right? There's a whole the first day or the third day or something is all completely based on retailers, and you have kind of like the Gamescom setup, right? Gamescom has public days the last weekend of the show. And they draw huge crowds to the point where they can't fit the 250,000 people or whatever that crazy number is that show up to this event over like a span of 3 days. It's kind of like San Diego Comic-Con in a way. But Tom, what would you like to see out of E3? Like, what would be your ultimate E3 experience?
I actually don't know because I feel like.
I mean, do you like how it's set up right now? I mean, that's totally valid.
I do actually. Okay. I kind of like the more business atmosphere of it.
Sure.
I like the separation between, like, to the opposite of Robin's point, I like having them separate. I like having one be for fans and one being a more business-centric place where, yeah, sure, a few jackasses do lie and get their way in and
more than a few.
Run around with bags full of swag and taking selfies next to all the statues. But for the most part, like, it's easier to do what we do at something like that, I feel. Mm-hmm. And also, I feel like larger publishers don't really care about PAX right now anymore. They did.
Yeah,
and now it's been ceded to indie stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I think that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think it's neat to have that contrast between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like E3 would be a lot harder if they let in, like, even if they were like, last year they let in, Sony gave like 3,000 passes away or something like that, and they were everywhere, and I felt like it was like 10,000.
Jeez.
They were
giving away a ton of them last year.
There's people running around, knocking stuff over. I feel like even that was too much.
It seemed like last year they want to get more people to show up at E3, and E3 was actually bigger years ago. In like the late '90s, early 2000s, you were getting like a lot more people than are showing up now. So there was that big drop off when it went to Santa Monica and the whole hotel thing, and then it slowly picked itself back up. But yeah, you're right. Now you hear a lot more of E3. We're going to give away 1,000 passes. Today we're going to give away 5,000. We gave away 10,000. Okay, well you're in a weird way you're making it more of a anybody can get in consumer based thing. You know. As for myself, I actually wouldn't mind. And I wouldn't mind an E3 proper, but like on a smaller scale. So really just kind of focus on the. I think you could take everything and put it into one hall and just make it more meetings and meeting spaces and focus on that for press, for like media and retailers. You know, I don't think you need to have big giant showcases for that kind of stuff, but make all that in one area, and then you could have these individual satellite little things happening around E3 and around LA. Like you could do like a VR conference, and Oculus did something kind of like that last year. They had a press conference like a few days before E3.
They had two of them last year.
Yeah, that's right. They had two of them last year, and I think you could do that kind of stuff. You can have things within the city that lead up to E3. So E3 might not start like on that Monday with the press conferences. Maybe E3 starts like the Thursday before, and that first weekend is about, a VR or whatever, and cosplay, and maybe that's where you open it up to the public. If you do want to keep these big giant displays, and things are getting more, again, EA wants to do more public stuff. Maybe this is where you say, okay, you have E3 proper for media and press on the, Monday and Tuesday of that week, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's in a different location. Maybe that's when it goes to the big hall, but it's open to fans and strictly focuses on on stuff for people to come in and play off the street, buy your ticket and get in. But yeah, I actually wouldn't mind making E3 a week-long event and kind of doing these little satellite conferences around, because we don't get to see enough of VR. That's still, and we know it's a growing aspect. I'd love to hear more about the streaming and Twitch, because that is kind of important to gaming these days. So I could see a lot of those little mini conferences take place either the days before or the days after, E3. I think that could be pretty cool, and I would love that, because then you could knock those out individually, one per day or a couple per day, and still have a great E3 experience. So
I think that'd be a happy medium too.
Yeah. That way you still have your E3 proper, which is a lot of fun, but then fans can come in. I'd love to see PAX LA. PAX LA is just strictly, or like an Indiecade LA is just strictly the indie stuff that wasn't on E3, wasn't on the show floor, obviously. Maybe a few of the things might be in some of the booths, but this is the big indie conference.
That could totally happen, because there are already 2 Indiecades now.
Yeah, there are. And you see companies like Devolver Digital doesn't have a booth at E3, but they do it across the street at the Buffalo Wild Wings parking lot. Or at the Hooters parking lot, sorry. So you could do that kind of stuff, and that's actually a pretty interesting way to do it, and have these little satellite everything within walking distance, and I think it could be a lot of fun. I think that maybe is the way to do it. So
something for everyone.
Something for everyone. Even include the whole, because there's a big cosplay festival that takes place that weekend, but it's never hyped up enough, and we actually get the information for our E3 party list plug, but and so we post it, but hype that up. Maybe that's part of the E3 experience is cosplay, and there's a whole little mini festival for that. And you can really turn the town into a pretty fun week of events there. So even if you don't get into E3 proper, now you have stuff that you can still do around town.
Dolly, can I ask why you want anything in the world that would keep you in Los Angeles longer than you need to
be? Great point.
Not as though E3
yeah, exactly.
doesn't cause a traffic issue as is.
Oh, God, yeah, I agree. Could you imagine the traffic issue if all this is taking place? But, yeah. Anyways, that's a great conversation. E3 is changing. I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. I know you are. Both of you are as well. I like your I'm fat shirt.
It actually says I'm fat, let's party.
I'm fat, I like it. That's good. Anyway, it's great conversation, and we're all curious to see how it turns out. I think it's going to be a big. I think it's going to be an important E3 going forward. So we're at the moment now in these consoles where the console wars are really heating up again, because people are starting to not just buy the consoles en masse, but a lot of them already have them and are looking for the next thing. So. With that said, we're gonna end the conversation on that, end for the evening right now, and get this podcast loaded up onto your ear holes. If you're listening to it, that means that I did my job and I actually edited it and posted it.
That sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah, it does. You can find me at Dolly Domovsky. You can find SideQuesting at SideQuesting on Twitter, sidequesting.com. Please rate and review us on the iTunes. We love y'all for it. Robin, where can we find you? Robin with a Y, where can we find you?
Yeah, I was about to make the same joke again. I'm beating the dead horse there. At A Robin Miller on Twitter. Also, Falconiformed on Twitch, so it's spelled like Falcon I formed.
Cool. Tom?
And I'm at that Tom Johnson on Twitter.
Cool, and you can find our links. If you're listening to the podcast on our website, you can find a link somewhere down at the bottom. I'm pointing as if there was a way to see through the audio. of where
Can
the links are.
confirm there was a point.
There was a point. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next side quest. Over and out. Peace and love.